guess the fact of the matter is I'm getting overwhelmed with gold because gold isn't going out the door; it's coming in the door. There was a day earlier this week where one individual brought in.
What is up to all of you beautiful stackers out there? Today we have a great one for you because we are going to be talking once again with Josh from Minot Coin and Bullion. But instead of talking about silver with Josh, we're going to be talking about gold. Yes, gold, guys, as you know, has been approaching $2,000 an ounce and has even crossed that line a couple of times in this last week. Will it hit the record highs once again? Is gold a better metal to stack than silver? So on and so forth. We'll be asking all those questions today. And if you guys want to hear his answers and get some great insight, I suggest you stick with us. So don't forget to smash that like button and let's get Josh in here and find out what's going on. My channel is sponsored by sdbullion.com. New customers can get their first order of gold or silver at spot by going to sdbullion.com/new. Josh, how has it been the last couple of weeks, my friend?
Life's been good. Life is busy in the shop. Can't complain.
That's awesome. Well, you know, on my channel, especially recently, we've been talking about 90%, but in general, we talk primarily about silver. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is gold. Obviously, gold has been hovering around that $2,000 an ounce mark over the last week plus. And I would love to know what that's been doing in your shop. Is it causing more people to come in and buy more because they think it's going to keep going up, or more people coming in to sell because the price is high? Just kind of give us some insight. What's going on there?
We're not to the point yet where gold is high enough where it's in the news. It's my prediction as it gets closer to that all-time high, and maybe even hits an all-time high later this year. It could potentially happen. That will trigger more gold buying. For whatever reason, that's what it takes. It takes news cycle. It takes a run up in price. It hasn't run up to the level where I've seen an increase in what I'm selling in terms of gold. On the flip side, people are selling their gold to me. You know, for those that are paying attention, that's not the time to buy. Kids and can cash out, I guess you could say, at a profit, are bringing in their gold and selling it. There was a day earlier this week where one individual brought in 5.5 ounces of gold, mixed in a bunch of different sizes and countries. I mean, there were 1/4 ounce, 1/10 ounce, 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce, all different countries. There was a gold bar in there. You know, just because they wanted to cash out. And what he had told me is he had bought it around $1,500 an ounce. He saw a great opportunity to make about $500 an ounce, so he sold 5.5 ounces. So I guess the fact of the matter is I'm getting overwhelmed with gold because gold isn't going out the door, it's coming in the door.
Gotcha. So when you say that it's coming in the door, not out the door, are people buying it at all, or is it just all sellers?
I have not. Well, I got to think here. I think I've sold a 1/10 ounce piece of gold in the last 10 days. That's it.
Wow.
I've bought much more across the counter. People are buying other things. They're buying silver, but you know, I think I've seen it. I've seen this happen many times, and frankly, I'm not surprised. As gold gets to a high spot price, relatively speaking, in terms of all-time pricing, that's where we're at right now. But it's not at an all-time high. You know, the casual gold investor doesn't want to buy high, so they're waiting for a dip again before they're going to want to buy. It's those new gold investors that I believe, are going to start buying once gold starts charging up again and maybe hits an all-time high or flirts with an all-time high, because then once it gets in the news cycle, it becomes the sexy investment, and now everybody who doesn't have gold wants it. And at that point, well, I don't want to say you're too late, but you should have bought it earlier. But that's just human nature. We see the same things happen with silver. When silver breaks out in price, it spurs more customers purchasing.
So
kind of counterproductive.
It's definitely counterproductive. It's crazy to me, though, to think about that. You've only sold a 10th ounce in the last 10 days, but you just bought, just from one person, 5.5 ounces. Is that the only purchase you've made, or have other people come in and sold gold as well?
No, I've bought some other gold too, some other fractional pieces. I bought some old U.S. pre-33 gold. I've also bought a fair amount of gold jewelry, 14 karat, 10 karat, 18 karat. So really gold is flowing in. It's just not flowing out.
So let me ask you this: you talked about gold hitting the news cycles, and then that's when the new investors are going to come in and get the the hot new investment opportunity or whatever. But you had also mentioned 14 and 18 karat gold. Do you see an increase in people selling like jewelry, like old broken jewelry or gold jewelry, when gold hits the news as well?
I really don't. It's in terms of, in my shop in particular, buying gold jewelry is pretty consistent as far as the amount that I see coming in the door. I don't think the price of the market really has much to do with it because, frankly, the people that are selling it, a lot of times it's an inheritance or it's their own broken jewelry that they've had sitting in a drawer forever and they just want to get cash for it. Typically, not always, but typically those sellers aren't really in tune with where the market's at and really what their stuff is even worth. So there's a lot of shocked and surprised and happy faces that leave here when they bring in their gold and silver jewelry to me and I tell them what I can pay. Because it's kind of, it's not funny, but I mean, there's truly people that have no idea what their stuff is worth. It's sitting in their jewelry box or their junk drawer at home until they come in and find out what I can pay for it. So
Yeah, I guess the reason I brought that up and asked is because if you remember, I know you weren't a dealer back then, but I think you were into gold and silver back then. Back, in 2010, 2011, and when gold
yep.
had ran up back then, you saw all over the place. I mean, at least where I live, we buy gold shops popping up everywhere. And, it was in the
same thing
news.
happened in Minot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was in the news and everything. So a lot of people were selling their gold jewelry. I mean, is that something you think might happen again, or did people basically clean themselves out back then?
No, I think there's always going to be gold out there. Um, you know, it's really hard to say. I really think probably gold, as I mentioned earlier, is really going to have to get in the news cycles, flirt with that all-time high, maybe break through an all-time high price, and continue to go up. At that point, that might, feed into the frenzy of people. Oh, hey, I have gold in a drawer at home. I should go see what it's worth, kind of thing. So I think that'll help that. But until it gets in the news cycles, I really don't think it's going to spur more people to sell their scrap gold because those people aren't really paying attention to the market. They're going to need to hear about it from external sources in order to realize that, hey, maybe I have some money sitting here. Maybe I should cash it out. So that's just what I typically see in the industry.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So let me ask you this: for the people watching, obviously the people watching this channel are a bit more privy into precious metals in general. I mean, what do you think people should do? Like with gold right now, do you think it's going to go over another all-time high? You had mentioned earlier that maybe later this year. I mean, I'm not telling you to tell people what to do. Obviously, everyone needs to make their own decision. But I mean, do you think gold and silver are going to rise again, or are we just going to be sitting in this limbo like we've been sitting in for the most part?
Well, the easy answer is yes. I do personally believe, and this is an opinion, that both gold and silver have to go up. They just have to. Every economic indicator is there that they both should have higher values. I'm talking in terms of the spot paper price than they do right now, but they don't. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And, you've talked about them plenty of times, so we don't need to continue to do that. But the timing is what nobody knows. And I can also argue, are gold and silver going to go down? Absolutely. So it's going to go up, it's going to go down. I truly believe a big catalyst that would spur a gold all-time high in terms of US dollars. I assume that's what we're talking about. And for those of you who don't know, gold is at an all-time high in other global currencies, quite a few actually, but it's not in the US dollar. That's because of our quote-unquote strength that we show in our dollar on the DXY, the US dollar index. I just looked today, we're at 106. So, and that shows that our dollar is stronger than the other currencies it's compared to. But gold's hit an all-time high in the Chinese yuan. There's a whole bunch. Swedish krona. I think the Brazil. I forget what their currency is, but you can look it up. Literally, there's 10 at least global currencies that are showing gold at an all-time high in that country's currency.
Right.
So, but I do believe it's going to happen, yes, because we're really not that far away. But I think the catalyst, as I was saying, is going to be geopolitical forces that put pressure on metals.
Yeah.
Because that influences demand.
Yeah, and I think I should have asked that question in a better way. I think I should have asked you what will be the catalyst, what will cause it to go up. I mean, this conflict going on right now overseas, is this going to have any play on it? Is it already having an effect on it? Is that why we're seeing gold pushing into that 2000 area right now?
I think that's definitely part of the reason. When there's times of uncertainty, war is definitely a time of uncertainty. People tend to flock towards, what they believe to be safe haven investments. Gold and silver have always been dubbed as a safe haven investment. So I think that plays into it. Definitely, there's more people that are putting investment money into metals because they deem it to be safer. Because who knows what's going to happen? With these, there's several wars being fought right now, and the U.S. can't seem to keep their nose out of it. So it's going to impact our metal in terms of the dollar. But yeah, I truly believe that the wars going on right now are having a direct impact. It's just hard to predict to what degree in the future they're going to have an impact, because it could indeed impact metals much more if the conflicts get uglier, I guess, per se.
Yeah, they're pretty ugly right now, but I think the U.S. military industrial complex, if you will, salivates at the opportunity of any war. And maybe we shouldn't.
Unfortunately, you're right.
I was going to say maybe we shouldn't even put that in a video, but I probably will. So I don't know. It's there's a lot going on, and I think you're right. Let me ask you this: if you were to, again, I'm not trying to get you to give advice. I'm just asking what your opinion would be, what you would do. If you were to say you're an investor and you were to want to invest in precious metals right now, would it be gold or silver that you would be more interested in getting into right now?
Well, me personally, and this is only me personally, and
Exactly.
I get asked this a lot in the shop, so I'm glad you asked it. And I always have to kind of tiptoe how I answer, because I don't want it to come off as a guarantee or advice. I'm only telling what I do. I'm a silver guy by nature in my own personal stack. I own gold as well, but I'm a silver guy, and I'm an even bigger believer in silver at the moment than gold. I'm only buying silver personally in my personal stack. I'm only stacking silver because I'm a ratio guy. And you've talked about it before. I've talked about it before. I pay attention to the gold to silver ratio, and it's, in my opinion, a very beneficial time to be stacking silver because it's so undervalued in relationship to gold. We just talked about how gold is either at an all-time high or near an all-time high, depending on what currencies you're measured in. Silver's less than half of its all-time high. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
Is there
what is? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, is there a single currency where silver is anywhere close to an all-time high, like any currency?
No. So, and it's, to me, it's just an incredible opportunity. And I'm not just saying that because I sell it. The fact of the matter is I started selling it to the public so my community could benefit. So people in my community could have the opportunity to stack. I didn't even start this business with the intent to even be more than part-time, but it's turned into that where I need to be here for the public. But, I'm a big backer, big believer in silver. That's not to say gold's a bad investment now, but, who knows? I mean, you could buy gold today. Gold still is around $2,000 an ounce in terms of spot price. If, let's just say, World War III breaks out, gold jumps 50%. Does it really matter that you bought in at 2,000 if now it's at 3,000? So what? I mean, you made a lot of money, where silver, I just think, has so much stored potential and opportunity. Number one, because it's so highly manipulated and kept down. But number two, just its inherent value in relationship to gold is so low right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's where I'm putting my bets.
Yeah, and I am too. I mean, I think most people realize, given that my channel name is
in your name.
Yeah, it's in my name. And I talk about it primarily, but this is, I definitely need to bring up gold every once in a while because it's certainly not a precious metal that people should ignore. It's still blowing my mind what you had said at the beginning of this call about how you've only sold 1/10 of an ounce, but you've bought, it sounds like, plenty of ounces overall. I just
Yeah, too much, honestly. I have more on hand than I like to keep. And this was just the last 10 days. There was well, really the month of October. I bought a lot of gold across the counter, more than I typically do. Even when the price was low, in early October, gold was at 1820 to 1840 per ounce. People were selling it then too.
yeah.
And not a lot of people are buying it from me. So it's mostly silver, silver, silver. So, and in my opinion, for good reason. But there you have it, I guess.
Yeah. So what do you think? So what do you think is going to cause? Yeah, I know you had mentioned already maybe hitting another all-time high against the U.S. dollar or whatever. But what do you really think causes gold or silver, for that matter, to go into a frenzy? I mean, it really needs to hit mainstream media, right? Not just being talked about on the smaller media channels.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does, because the general population, let's face it, doesn't watch YouTube and seek out gold and silver videos. I mean, I think we're a pretty big community on YouTube, but in terms of, the general population, it's only a fraction. So it really truly needs to hit major news cycles. And as I said, as it gets close to that all-time high and maybe touches it or breaks it, I think that may start the next gold frenzy. But as I said, by then, for those that are paying attention, that's not the time to buy.
Yeah.
But there again, I also said if we do have a global crisis and gold, I'll use the term, but I hate using it, goes to the moon. So what if you paid 2,000 instead of 1,800? I mean, you're still way ahead.
Yeah.
But who knows? There's no guarantee that's going to happen.
Of course. But I like what you said. The old adage, if everyone already knows about it, it's probably too late. So I don't know. Maybe with it, I mean, I know gold's approaching 2,000, but still, it doesn't seem like there's a whole ton of buzz around it. So I don't know. Maybe now's the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we need to wait and to go back down. I have no idea, and I'm not, and you don't either. I'm not going to tell people what they should do. But it's fun to ask questions and think about it every once in a while. And I don't think it's something you can really ignore. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. And the other angle that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and they don't really think about in terms of gold, are the incredible amounts of gold that sovereign nations are stockpiling. How much gold does the U.S. have? Well, frankly, no one knows, because Fort Knox might be empty.
Yeah.
we haven't audited it, but I mean, it's real easy to find information on tons and thousands of tons of gold that India and China and Russia and all these global powers are stockpiling within their own countries. At some point, it's got to have an impact on price. So that could be playing into it too. And I'm not trying to say there's a shortage of gold, because believe me, I don't believe that there is. But there's so many sovereign nations that are stockpiling the metal. At some point, that's going to have an impact on price.
Fair enough.
When that moment comes, I think that's going to be another factor that plays into it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, that's basically all I wanted to cover on this topic today. But Josh, you know how we do this. I always open up the floor. Is there anything else you wanted to share that maybe I didn't ask or bring up today?
Not in terms of gold. I think we covered a lot of things that I hadn't really thought about for a while. So thank you for bringing up and asking such a poignant and important question. So it's nice to have a conversation about it.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Guys, if you don't know this already, you probably do if you're watching this. Josh has his own YouTube channel, Coin and Bullion. I'm going to put a link in the description. You should go check him out. Fantastic channel, great coin shop, and an awesome guy. Josh, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yep, we'll see you soon. Well, as always, that was a fantastic chat with Josh, but I would love to know what you think. So do me a favor and leave a comment down below and let me know. Or ask me a question that you would like for me to ask him next time we have him on the channel. Josh, thanks again for joining us, guys. Don't forget to check out his channel. If you haven't seen this video yet on the most important thing, at least what I think, when you're selling silver, that's the next video you should watch. So thank you again so much for joining me, and we will see you next time.